Hello, and welcome to this new episode of Alive and Teaching. Those of you that know this podcast are used to us talking about a series of elements and a series of factors that have their importance for teaching and that have their importance for teachers. And what we wonder about here is how teachers can keep the connection with students. So within this, we don't put AI at the center of perspectives, we don't put technology at the center of perspective necessarily, but we do have to talk about these from the moment that they have an impact on this teacher-student relationship or connection. So today I'm taking opportunity of an AI survey that has been conducted at my university, the St. Louis University in Madrid, to talk about some of its findings and to reflect on the way several populations, let's say, within our university reflect on and react towards AI. I mean here that the survey was encompassing in the sense that it included faculty, students, as well as staff and managers. But within this, the questions were adapted to each of them so that we can have a better understanding, have a better picture of what is it that is ongoing when it comes to the perceptions of the ones and the others. So today we're gonna deal with this. The thing to have in mind is that what is for sure is that students did not wait for the debate to happen before they adopted AI or they adopted technology within their habits. But at the same time, I would say that one of the other findings also is that apart from students, we can see that not only staff but also faculty is quite involved, or more and more involved, more and more experimenting the use of what we call the AI tools as a way for them to reach an outcome. What outcome? Let's see if we can understand more about it today. Let's go. So, first of all, I think that it is important to point out the fact that we have different stances when it comes to faculty, when it comes to instructors, and the way of looking at AI, the way of dealing with AI, the way of approaching AI, of talking about AI, of allowing or not AI. But what is for sure is that though we have the right to be skeptical towards AI, the fact is that while skepticism is something valid, at the same time, we must understand that this skepticism is already a stance that we are taking. And so by extension, that means that when we are silent towards what relates to AI and its use, or towards what relates to technology and its use, we are already sided, we are already adopting a stance. And so talking about skepticism, what struck me in the findings or in the survey that I was referring to at the beginning of this episode is that when I ask faculty around about how they feel towards the use of AI specifically, well, nearly half of it say that they are skeptical. Nearly half of it say that they don't see any positive perspectives within AI. But this is a finding that we have to contrast with another aspect that I am gonna point out or I'm gonna mention in a moment. Before that, I think that one other thing that we have to be clear about is that we have the choice to look away. We have the choice to decide that AI is not something that we want to be focusing on, or something that we want to be part of the conversation, or something that we want in the classroom. That's a right, that's a stance that I respect personally, but I also think that by looking away, the problem that we may face is that we may be encountering a cost there. So here what I mean is that I think that as teachers, part of our responsibility is to be pragmatic, and part of our responsibility is to face things and the way they are. If we decide that we don't like something in the classroom, and this is why we're not gonna address it, I think that this is where we would be mistaken. Now, we can decide that don't want something in the classroom, but then we may need to explain why. If I bring an anecdote here, I remember this student that had come with, that was always on his device, on his phone in the classroom, and it was something annoying, especially knowing that the devices were banned in the classroom. And so from the moment or the day I made him a comment by telling him, I don't want you to have any device anymore in the classroom, he said, okay, or more precisely, I had told him, I don't want you to be using your iPhone anyway because it is prohibited. And he said, okay, but the class after, he came with an iPad, and he was the only one using an iPad in the classroom and focused on it. I dealt with this student the way I had to deal with. Maybe we'll leave this for another episode, but what I mean here is that we have a reality around that talking about is already assuming or already taking a responsibility towards the matter in itself. Once again, we don't have to adopt things if we're not convinced, but talking about them is, I think, something crucial if we want to keep not only connected to our students, but also to prove to them that we care about the reality that they live in. So now coming to the data that we have been able to collect within my university when it comes to perceptions and use of AI by different categories within our university. So my focus will be, I would say, logically on faculty and students per se. And so what I would point out there, one of the findings that I found interesting that I want to mention here is that a majority of our faculty, or a majority of our faculty that answered the survey, happens to be skeptical or pessimistic about AI and its impact on education, but we still have something like 10-11% of faculty that says that they are on the contrary positive about it. And I think that this is something to point out. Then this comes together with another aspect that is important, and this is where I'm reflecting on what I was saying about 2 or 3 minutes before. While the majority of the faculty, or a good half of the faculty, is skeptical towards AI, at the same time, a majority of faculty uses AI. And this is where we have something interesting, because I think that AI, one way or another, is something that is intriguing enough for us to say, okay, there is something that I should explore there. It sounds sometimes like the solution of facility when you hear about the fact that it's wonderful when it comes to references, or it can build your slides, or it can come with courses that are ready, that are like tailored and ready to be used in the classroom. I think that this is where we have some teachers that can be tempted by it. But the reality is that you have to make such a work, you have to make lots of time in order for you to allow AI to help you in your day-to-day reality. And so I think that this is where we see this important mismatch between people skeptical about it. I think skeptical because their job can be threatened, of course, but also skeptical because they see the impact of this on many things that they care about, and within this, the critical thinking. But then at the same time, I have it, I think, I don't have it clear, but I'm quite convinced that the majority of faculty still makes use of something called AI without always, once again, knowing how to use it exactly. And so this ties in my second point, which is about the guidance or the framework that we can have at the university level. This is also a very interesting finding that comes together from the faculty and the students. The fact that they would like to have guidance, whatever we put in guidance. Guidance can be the ethical point or the integrity, as we call it. Or guidance can also be about to what extent can I use AI. Or guidance can also be about Please tell me that I have the right to decide how not to use AI. Whatever we decide about this, both students and faculty want to have indications. And I think that this makes sense because nobody wants it open, freely open, unleashed. No, I think that everybody has to know the parameters, and then everybody can decide whether they want to play around the rules or no. This is part of life. This is how it goes in general. But still, having a framework, adopting a framework is something important. And I think that many universities are understanding this, but many of them, way more, are still struggling with the concept, struggling with the idea that there is there. And this is where I think that more effort should be put when it comes to this. And then third point that I think is of importance is the fact that a majority of students does use AI, and this is no surprise, but I was more interested by the fact that a majority of students, really a big majority of students, seems to think that they really know how to use AI. They're fully confident that their use of AI is the good one, the professional one, the ones that has to be done the way they do. I'm not sure, and I think that we even need classes on the use of AI in every possible teaching institution. We need students to have ad hoc hours. I'm not talking about anymore about a training here. I'm talking about ad hoc classes where they are taught all what pertains, all what relates to AI, meaning the impact, the importance, the dangers, and also the integrity that there is, because AI should not be understood outside of integrity. And I think that among the examples that we can use here is the polemic that there is around, for example, the use of AI in the events that surrounded the capture of President Maduro in Venezuela, or the Iran war of 2026, or even the events that unfolded in the Palestinian territories since October 2023. So all of these are indications about the fact that AI is a powerful tool, but we need now to have some boundaries, to have some framework, to have some even guidelines when it comes to how it can be used. And within this, I think that both students and faculty, and beyond that, even staff in general, need a guide, need a training, need regular sessions where they are taught many things that relate to AI, not only the use of it, but also the ethics of it. And so, in a nutshell, what we can understand from the global trend that I see around, from the global trend that prevails when it comes to students and faculty and what they say, not only in the survey that I was mentioning, but even when it comes to my discussions with colleagues and students from other institutions, or when it comes to what I see around in conferences and in debates and in readings and in podcasts here and there, the fact is that when it comes to the data, what the data says is that we don't need more AI. Actually, where we are is already overwhelming, maybe. What we need is guidance on AI. And that's one of the important findings that I think we must take seriously into account, and that I put forward when it comes to the compass, or the guidance, let's say, that I see on the way. And then if we bring perspectives to students in themselves, well, students themselves say, you know what, we're asking from our professors some more clarity. We want them to be clear about what can be done, what cannot be done, how can we do it. And it's not easy, by the way. I mean, if I take my example, when I talk to students, I tell them, you have the right to use AI. And actually, more than the right, I encourage you to use AI, because you're going to need it all your life, and you're going to have to make the difference when it comes to you being on the job market. But you have a difference between using it and between knowing how to use it. And this is where we get back to this point where many, not only faculty, maybe students to a great extent, I would say, but even teaching institutions feel quite lost. That's because it is very difficult, some few years on from the developing of the AI tools, to really see a way, or to really see, I would say, a strategy that would be paying off, a good strategy that would allow us to develop a policy that would work for a whole university, a whole teaching institution. Many institutions are working on it still. We are working on it too. And I trust that if at the end of the day we end up respecting law, of course. Talking from an EU perspective, there is an AI Act that is being worked on, and I think that it brings good parameters and good elements in terms even of what could be ethical or could not be ethical, which is not the case in necessarily in all the regions or the countries of the world. But besides, we also need to have AI more put or more considered as a tool where it can bring us something, but at the cost of making an effort to on our hands. Because if we wait for AI to solve everything around and to lead perspectives, this is where we are giving credits to the ones that tell us that AI will end up taking our jobs. And when we say AI taking our jobs, we professors would be among the populations and are already among the populations that feel threatened, as indicated once again by the survey that I talked about and by many other references that we see around. So, what this means at the end is that technologies have always been a reality around. This one is more challenging, but it is reassuring to see that some people want a framework. Why? Because it is this framework that would allow us still to have things under control. When you have laws that tell you no crimes, some people go for crimes, but at the same time, there is a sanction against them. I think the same kind of parameters, the same kind of guidelines, the same kind of boundaries that we can that we have to face consequences for if we go beyond them. This is the kind of thing that needs to be framed, that needs to be defined, and I'm very optimistic about the fact that we can end up having something that allows us to accompany AI the way it accompanies us. And this plays not only for AI but also for technologies taken as a whole. This was it for today. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast or for watching it. And by the way, don't forget and follow us, please. You have our YouTube account, Alive and Teaching. You have our podcast channel too, Alive and Teaching, and you have our website, aliveandteaching.com, where you can also find our newsletter. And our newsletter is not only about reflecting on the episodes that have been published or announcing them. It also announces what would be on the way, and it tries and bring a reflection that could be useful. The way the website is always open to your comments, so never hesitate if you want to say or add or suggest anything. Take good care. See you soon. Bye bye.